Change. Usually when we think about change, we talk about choosing a different method to get a different result. What if the best way to create meaningful difference was to completely change the way you see everything? Changing the way you see things could be an important first step, not only in getting new results, but a whole new way of thinking. I'm Jim Canfield, and today I'm really happy to be with Cathy Kramer. Cathy's a trained psychologist, having studied at DePaul University and St. Louis University. She's also the CEO and founder of the Kramer Institute. She's worked with hundreds of corporations, 60 hospitals, and the U.S. Air Force on stress reduction and lifestyle changes. And today, we're going to talk about how to change the way you see yourself. Welcome, Cathy.
Hi, Jim. Glad to be here.
Cathy, you've written several great books. The first has a very ambitious title, Change the Way You See Everything. Next, you tackled teens with Change the Way You See Everything for Teens. And most recently, Change the Way You See Yourself. What was behind the idea of Change the Way You See the series?
The whole idea of Change the Way You See has to do with where we focus our attention, what we're looking at, what we see, influences what we think, how we feel, and what we do. It's the point of leverage that people really don't notice unless you point it out that they have. So am I looking at what's working, what's valuable, what's best, what's possible? That will start a chain reaction, a very positive chain reaction. If I'm looking at what doesn't work, what's problematic, what's missing, the mistake I just made, that will cause a chain reaction. And in our work, we have found that people in all walks of life, people who are working at all levels of an organization, tend to look at what's not working before they look at what is working. They tend to be more problem-focused than they are possibility-focused. So we wanted to give people the real message that they were in charge. They could be in control of what they were looking at, and therefore how they think about things, what they're feeling, and what they do. And that's how Change the Way You See Everything was born.
So in this case, the seeing is really physically seeing, but it's also perception or thoughts that we have. It's the way what we focus on.
You know, I have to say that there's a big argument today in psychology. Do feelings come before thoughts, or thoughts come before feelings? Am I really seeing something, or am I imagining I'm seeing something out of a filter that I have really developed over the years? I call it the see, think, feel cycle. Some might say see, feel, think cycle, but it's almost instantaneous. We don't actually see with our eyes, we see with our brains. So within milliseconds, I am interpreting what I see. It's something good, it's something welcomed, it's something bad, it's something I don't like. We make that judgment within milliseconds. And so what we want people to do is to realize our first thought doesn't have to be our last thought. So we can really take that first thought and shape it. Oftentimes, I talk about shining the spotlight of our attention on the positive facts of a situation, not the negative.
So this is interesting. I just read recently that what we also immediately do is take that thought and push it into the future. So start to think about, what does this mean for me in the future, and what if this doesn't change? So what you're telling me is, if I start with a negative impression, then inevitably I'm going to assume that my future result is going to be negative. If I start with a positive impression, then I'm more likely to believe that my future result is going to have a positive outcome. Am I picking up on that correctly?
Well, I think it's interesting. Past, present, future. Usually we're in the present moment, right? But our past experience influences our current, present moment perception, good, bad. Right? And so our past is really illuminating and sometimes shaping our interpretation of what's happening right now. And you are absolutely right. In the present moment, if I believe I'm up against something that is challenging and difficult and impossible or frustrating, that will determine my future action in the next moment, in the next day, in the next month.